Did you know that the guild gates released in Return to Ravnica and Gatecrash were reprinted in Dragon's Maze, showing the same locations, just zoomed out so you can see more of the city around them? Take a look at how the Azorius Guild Gate, illustrated by Drew Baker, shows more of its opulent building structure. How the Boros Guild Gate pulls out to show the massive fortification that the gate guards. How you can see light blue haze denoting the Dimir Guild Gate amidst the decayed fragmented ruins. How you can still see the figure in orange walking out of the Golgari Guild Gate when it zooms out. How you can see that the Gruul Guild Gate is more of a facade than an actual gate when you see the untouched landscape on the other side. How the Izzet Guild Gate pulls out to reveal a massive generator just outside of its walls. How the Orzhov Guild Gate appears to be standing on the ground, but in the Gatecrash variation it shows that it's actually on the second story highway in a very built up city. The Simic Guild Gate's facade was only a small portion of the thriving city center. The Selesnya Guild Gate pulls out to reveal all of the space that still remains untouched by its overgrowth. And that red glow you see coming from behind the viewer in the Rakdos Guild Gate is because the road leading up to it is a cascading series of lava waterfalls. I just love how returning to old places in Magic the Gathering sets helps to build the world a bit more piece by piece. Merch. Like, comment, subscribe. Hello, welcome back to Basics, episode number 21, a show where I take EDH commanders and try to find the perfect basic lands to fit them. I love seeing someone sit down with some beautiful basic lands, but something I love even more is seeing how well those lands match their commanders. One quick note before we begin. I like to give the artists credit for their artworks, but I may not pronounce their names perfectly. I'll try my best, but please forgive me and correct me if that ever happens. First on the list, we've got Averna the Chaos Bloom from Commander Legends. If you take a look at Averna's art, you'll notice the large sections of dark color in them. She's standing in a very dark area, which makes the light coming from her head and hands very distinct. However, the color is billowing and slow, making it seem like she's not exploding with power, but is subtly exuding it at all times. So I wanted to focus on lands that had a dark vignette around the edges, as well as emanated glow that represents each of the colors of her color identity. Which was harder to do than I thought, but I have 3 different pairings for you to choose from. Take a look at this island from M19, illustrated by Jonas DeRoe, this mountain, illustrated by Adam Paquette from Innistrad, and this hazy and beautiful forest from Shadowmoor, illustrated by Rob Alexander. These lands do, like I mentioned before, having dark edges with a glowing hazy interior light that emanates her colors. A second pairing to look at would be this forest, illustrated by Noah Bradley from M15, this mountain from Time Spiral, illustrated by D. Alexander Gregory, which emanates the green and the dark hues, and this island from Innistrad Crimson Vow, illustrated by Sam White, which has a very dark and deep blue tone. I felt like these pairings are more important than usual, because Averna is a commander that blends Landfall with Cascade, which means that a deck running her will have a higher density of basics in it, despite it being a 3-color deck. And finally, I wanted to use Averna's unique visual style to highlight these beautiful Unfinity basic lands that match just perfectly with her. This island, this mountain, and this forest, all illustrated by Adam Paquette, go out of their way to match the dark vignette, the huge density of glowing color, and they are full art, which makes them easy to search for in land-based ramp decks. Second on the list, we've got another landfall commander. It's Lord Windgrace from Commander 2018. Windgrace's landfall and cat abilities mostly run counter to his visual style, which has a heavy shamanistic element and a lot of personal decoration on his physical form. So I focused on imagery that reflects the dark color of Lord Windgrace, while also having a lot of complexity to match. So take a look at this swamp illustrated by Paul Scott Canavan from Throne of Eldraine, this forest from Magic Fest 2019 promos illustrated by Sam Burley, and this mountain from the Grand Prix 2018 promos illustrated by Donato Jean-Cala. This lineup places emphasis on the sunset color scheme from card to card, while also using the rocky crags in the mountain, the deep autumn trees in the forest, and the heavy silhouetted elements in the swamp to make a pairing that I think works very well together. If you wanted to not use promo or high budget cards, take a look at this swamp from Amonkhet illustrated by Stephen Belladin, this mountain from Throne of Eldraine illustrated by Mark Poole, and this very cool and bright forest illustrated by Raul Vitali that matches the shamanistic and tribal elements of Lord Windgrace. I really like this pairing because it matches the brightness of Lord Windgrace very well, and each of them emphasizes yellow tones, which matches his art and his card frame. Third on the list, we've got a cool one. It's Yarok the Desecrated from M20. Yarok's style is bleached and ragged, but still has a lot of color infused into the background and the green heart that he has in his chest. It's a very cool juxtaposition of mild glowing elements with the ragged and intense and bleached shape of Yarok, which helped me pick out basic lands for him quite easily. Take a look at these 3 unique pairings, starting with this full art island from Battle for Zendikar, illustrated by Tianhua X, matching that with this swamp from Unhinged, illustrated by John Avon, and this forest from Zendikar, illustrated by Young Park. This pairing was fun, because all the artworks were full art, and the forest and swamp had surprisingly intense ragged elements to them, which made it feel right at home with Yarok. However, for non-full art options, I wanted to try to mimic his color as closely as I could. So take a look at this island from M15, illustrated by Florian de Jessencourt, that has the red and light blue focus amidst the bleached color. This swamp, illustrated by Cliff Childs, that has the ragged and spiky elements along with the greens, and this super underrepresented forest from New Phyrexia that does the same. I was very impressed with how all the colors of this pairing match up so closely, and even the spikes and needles seem to match up as well. For a third pairing, I wanted to lean even more down the spiky, mottled, and complex imagery to match Yarok's shape. So take a look at this forest illustrated by Mark Tedden that has the desiccated remains of a forest in it, this island from Time Spiral that has the warped and churning landscape creating large pockets of dark tones, and this swamp from Time Spiral as well that shows a grim scene from within some gargantuan creature's ribcage. I loved how this last pairing exudes the feeling of grim macabre that Yarok is emulating in his artwork, and I felt like it was worth mentioning by that merit alone. And fourth on the list, we've got a single-colored commander. It's Ao the Dawn Sky from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. I love the art for this card. The streamlined blues and golds make this card elegant, and really in keeping with the Kamigawan aesthetic, which is why I wanted to start there before showing any other card designs. So take a look at this Kamigawa Neon Dynasty Plains illustrated by Tomohito, that has the same coloring and vertical orientation that is reminiscent of Japanese traditional artworks. But I have a few more designs to show you if you'd indulge me. Take a look at this Plains from Double Masters illustrated by John Avon that has that powerful gold color that exemplifies Ao's style. Or this Plains from Battle for Zendikar illustrated by Noah Bradley that does the same. Or, if you'd like to follow the mystical element of Ao's art, you could look at the Theros Beyond Deathlands for inspiration, matching the deific nature of the dragons of Kamigawa with the gods from Theros. Or finally, if you wanted a more high-budget option, you could see that the gold color we've been following is focused on certain points of Ao, namely the spirits around him and the glowing line across his body. So if you wanted to follow that, you could get the foil versions of the unsanctioned planes illustrated by Adam Paquette that have the gold foiling on the interior frame of the card that I think would match quite nicely together. And finally, we've got an intriguing one. It's Rielle the Everwise from Ikoria. Rielle's artwork is elegant, with these bright connected spheres of power floating behind her as she walks nonchalantly through them. The thing you notice more than her are those spheres, and I found that they were difficult to reproduce in basic lands. However, I was able to find one set that matched spectacularly, but it commands a hefty price tag. Take a look at this promotional island illustrated by Tyrese Nielsen from the Guru promotional program, and this mountain from the same set with similar artwork. I really love the art for these lands, because they have the faces of the moon or sun etched upon the sky as though they were being studied, which definitely feels like it matches her style. However, because these are outside of most players' price ranges, I have 2 additional pairings for you to consider, starting with this island from Double Masters illustrated by Noah Bradley, followed by this mountain from Double Masters illustrated by the same. I felt like the energy being exuded behind Rielle matches the energy being implied in these artworks, and the colors match up surprisingly well for being from different planes. Or, if you wanted lands that weren't full art, take a look at this island from Throne of Eldraine illustrated by Nils Ham, and this beautiful mountain illustrated by Gaga Zhang from the global series Jiang Yangu and Mu Yanling. The impressionistic and hazy color palette really works when paired alongside Rielle, because of how delineated and undefined her background is, ultimately working out very well color-wise and style-wise. But there you have it. 5 more commanders sorted for which basic lands I think match them best. But I want to see what you think. Tell me which commanders you'd like me to try and pick up basic lands for. Comment below and let me know. And have a great day.